Howdy folks, Craig and Ray here on the third floor. It's time to talk about the 10 Thunders. Quick disclaimer, when we filmed this, the M3 was still in open beta, so some of the details we talk about might change, but thematically everything should remain about the same. It's time to go to the casino and talk about Jakob Lynch and the Honeypot. So first, let's talk about Jakob Lynch. Okay. You've declared 10 Thunders. Yep. You're going to bring Jakob Lynch. What should I expect to see?
You are going to be suffering from a, not condition, but a status effect known as brilliance.
Okay.
You're going to be suffering from a lot of it, and I'm going to make you suffer for suffering from it.
So that's something that you put on me, right?
It is.
So I gain brilliance tokens?
You gain brilliance tokens. It is their main thematic ability, aside from their keyword, which we'll talk about, or their keyword ability, which I'll talk about in a second. And Jacob's job is to abuse that.
Okay.
So he has not as much offense as you might think, but more than he lets on. And okay. I know that's kind of a dichotomy of statements to say, but it's because his melee attack is basically, I give you brilliance.
Got it.
You might take some damage. You reveal cards off the top of your deck, and if mine's higher than yours, you take like 2 points of damage or something. But that's not what you're trying to do with him. He's got a gun, it's 2, 3, 4, some nice triggers on it. Again, not really what you're trying to do with him. What you're doing with him is you're nuking.
Okay.
He has an ability called Succumb to Darkness, and it nukes you for the number of brilliance tokens on your character.
Gotcha.
And if I kill you, I get to summon Honeypot minions.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's kind of like Sonya's ability with burning.
Right.
Same kind of concept, except I'm getting the Honeypot. And stacking brilliance is kind of what you're trying to do with him. His defensive ability is purely based off of you having brilliance on the model. He himself is one of those pieces that you're using as kind of a support piece until it's time for him to come out and murder 2 models in an activation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's kind of, it sounds like he's setting up for a nuke on his side, and I assume when we get to the crew, we're going to find out that brilliance does a lot more than just allows him to nuke him. So that's great. How vulnerable is he?
He's extremely vulnerable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's really, that's one of the challenging aspects of what to play with him, because his gun's only an 8-inch range, his nuke I think is only 6 inches, so you got to get close to use it. But his only real defensive ability is that if you cheat near him, you take damage, and if you have brilliance, you're on negatives to hit him.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's really kind of all he has. So you've got to be very careful. He does have a pulse out heal, but I don't think it targets him. It's just to bolster his buddies. But he does have a really neat keyword that can kind of sort of help with this. And the keyword is, not keyword, but ability, called Rig the Deck. And that is the signature ability for the Honeypot. And what it does is every model in his keyword has Rig the Deck plus X.
Okay.
And what that allows you to do is for each, for whatever that number is, you look at the top card of your deck, kind of draw it into your hand, and then you can place any card from your hand back.
Back into the discard?
Back on top of the deck.
Oh.
So you get to see what's coming, and knowing what you're going to do that turn, you get to determine how you're going to do things.
You're stacking the deck.
You're literally stacking the deck. So like he has rigged the deck too, so you would draw the top 2 cards of your deck and then take 2 cards from your hand and put it back in any order you want.
Got it.
So if you're like, and this is really good for certain niche situations, like against models that you can't cheat or there's penalties for cheating, you can be like, well, can't cheat this anyway, put these 2 13s on top.
Got it.
But it's also really good, like if you have abilities that have low cast that you didn't want to have to flip a 13 for, you only needed a 5, you can put that 5 on top and be like, all right, that's the card I'm going to go for. Or if you know you're going to be on negatives to an attack because you're distracted or something like that, you can be like, I'm going to put 2 moderates on here to increase my chances. So there's a lot of cool tricks you can do with it.
Very, very cool. All right, that's Jakob Lynch. So we're talking about a Honeypot crew, and I think the first thing we have to talk about is the totem. So talk to me about Hungering Darkness.
Hungering Darkness, a.k.a. Huggy. The affectionate, creature of death, doom, and destruction that has entrapped poor Jakob Lynch. And he is every bit as devastating on the table as you might think he is in the fluff. So he's got a high-end damage track, 2, 4, 6, incorporeal, terrifying, hard-hitting henchman. The things that make him extremely dangerous are he's got built-in triggers to give brilliance on everything he does. So if he hits you, you're going to get brilliance. He has an obey that has the suit built in.
Oh, wow.
That gives out brilliance in addition.
Wow.
So that's a thing. And he's got crit strike on his melee attack because why not?
So that top end becomes 7 all of a sudden.
That top end can become 8 all of a sudden.
Yeah, right.
Because he's a
henchman.
He can stone.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you really need to wipe out a model in a single hit, you can pull it off.
Sure.
It's costly.
Yeah.
But hey.
Yeah.
How many models can say they top end at 8 damage and, just be like, what?
Sure.
And his bonus action is absolutely insane because the whole concept is you're spreading brilliance around your opponent's crew, and you mentioned the crew must use it for things. Here's one of the things it uses it for. He has a 6-inch pulse that removes a brilliance off every model in range.
Okay.
For every enemy model that he does that, he heals one, and they gain slow.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Wow.
So that's insanity.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Add into the fact that one of the triggers of Lynch's gun says place Hungering Darkness in base contact with the target.
Oh, okay.
And you have a really, really powerful model that can just ruin your day very quickly.
Right, so the extra bonus of getting shot by Lynch is you get a Hungering Darkness, right?
Yeah, you get a warm hug.
Wow, and of course I could stone for that suit if I was playing Lynch, if
Absolutely.
I really needed that to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. How about other Honeypot models that are of note? Is there other offense other than...
Yeah, there's a lot of offense in this crew. There's a lot of offense and there's a lot of utility in this crew. This crew has some of my favorite mechanics and models in the game. We'll start with my 3 favorite models, which are the Illuminated, Kitty Dumont, and Beckoners.
Okay.
So you mentioned hitting. What else does hitting? Well, Illuminated are your thing. They have a shockwave, which is obnoxious.
Yep.
That's on it's a move 13. So typically you're going to need 7/8
higher end card, yeah.
To get through it, and it pulses out 2 damage and brilliance.
Wow. Okay.
So that's a thing. Their melee attack is a 2-4-5 or a 2-3-5, something like that.
That's pretty good.
Pretty decent, but they also have a trigger on there that allows them to remove brilliance off of themselves or off of an enemy to increase the damage by 1.
Okay.
So suddenly they're min 3.
Yeah.
And to top it off, they have armor regen, and they start with brilliance on them, so you're guaranteed to get some of that damage out.
Got it.
This is actually one of the things you can do with Lynch is you can have Lynch charge into one of your Illuminated and slap him with his melee attack and be like, here, have 2 brilliance.
Sure.
Why not?
Which they're going to definitely be able
Which they're definitely going to be able to use.
Got it.
So there's your extra damage if you really want it. Talking utility.
Utility, yeah.
Beckoners have a lore.
Okay.
And they have a ranged attack that gives out distracted and brilliance. Their lore is absolutely obscene though, because it's got 2 triggers baked in off the same suit.
Sure.
That allows either them to reposition or you have to move further for each brilliance token on you.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it's one of the few effects in the game that increases the overall potency of lores. So if you have 3 brilliance and you're move 5, well, guess what? My lore is going to pull you 8.
Nice.
So that's really, really massive. I think they also have a bonus action that denies the ability to interact by removing brilliance.
Got it.
But absolutely the number one thing that makes them insane is that when they're deployed, I get to pick a model in your crew to gain brilliance.
That could be big.
That's big.
Yeah, that could be big. That's big. Painting the target right out of the gate.
Right, or more importantly for Lynch, who's a very fragile target, these 2 models are going to have to work to hurt him.
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. How fragile? I mean, we talked. Lynch has got some fragility. How fragile is Huggy?
Not very. He's a henchman with decent wounds, decent defense, and willpower. Terrifying, and of course with terrifying, every time you try to do anything you have to flip that duel, so that can be dangerous to deal with. And he's in core,
that helps.
Which really helps against the pulse damage, he doesn't care about that type of stuff. So generally speaking, they're pretty tough. And then add in my 3rd favorite model is Kitty Dumont. Her repositioning capabilities are absolutely utterly obscene. She has an 8-inch gun, so if you're engaged, you can't use it, and this is how you shut her down, actually. That allows you to reposition a model 6 inches, but there's a trigger on it that lets you do another 3 inches, and then she places in base contact.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
So you can reposition 2 models in your crew turn 1, for instance, 9 inches up the board if you got the triggers, and then she places next to one of them. So that allows you to control a little bit that fragility that some of the other models have, because she can be like, I don't like you being engaged over here. You can come over here now.
What kind of gamer, what kind of player is going to enjoy Honeypot and Jakob Lynch?
If you like deck shenanigans, this is definitely a fun deck to play with. Every one of these models has the ability to look at those cards and put cards back. That's always a fun thing to do. And there's so much diversity in what the crew can do. Like, we didn't even really talk about Grays and Tannen, but it's like there are 2 other models that do completely different things, have repositioning, have board control effects. Gwyneth Maddox has more board control effects. That's the other henchman in Lynch. You have access to just so many cool little tools to be able to do. And then, of course, who doesn't like nuking a model off the board and then getting a model for it?
Right.
You know, so like if that statement alone makes you, go, yeah, that's cool. Or if you just like the idea of playing, a drug pusher who's actually doing something with the drugs that he's pushing. Like, that's kind of the thematic behind Lynch, is that he's this ne'er-do-well that's going, hey, do you want to try some of this? And then you're like, then you get hooked, and now he's got his claws in you.
That's cool.
So it's like, it's a great flavorful crew that has a lot of versatility.
Dripping in theme.
Yeah.
Got it. For new player, is this a high learning curve, shallow learning curve?
I feel it's actually a pretty shallow learning curve. Good. Actually, it's the crew does what it does. You're stacking brilliance on models, and then you're using that brilliance to buff your ability to do things to your opponent. Pretty straightforward. The hard part about this crew is probably going to be the hiring process, because you want Gwyneth, but you want Kitty. You want Graves, and you want Tan. You want all the things, and you can't have all the things.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like his crew really becomes. That's where the skill for his crew comes in. It's more in how you build the crew to deal with the threats that you see across the table. Playing the crew is pretty straightforward and very enjoyable.
Very, very cool. All right, that's Jakob Lynch in the Honeypot.